You see, Rabotai, the Chazon Ish, he wasn't looking to entertain us. He was looking to tell us the truth. Chazon Ish so far explained to us how we have to look at our body parts in such a different way than we ever did before, that just by simply looking yourself in the mirror, you do tshuva. Now, in chapter 4 of the Emunah v'Bitachon Sefer by the Chazon Ish, he says the following: ראה יוצר שעדיין אין החיים מפחין על מתוכנתם, אם לא יהיה קשר איש עם רעהו, ועולם שכולם חרשים ואילמים נטול על ערך, כל ערך, ואין בו שום ממש, וטוב ממנו התוהו. עמד ותיקן מכונה מצפצפת קולות משונים, ואנו קוראים למכונה הזאת פה, וכנגדה תיקן מכונה מתפעלת ונרגשת מכל תנועת קול, ואנו קוראים מכונה זאת אוזן. ועל ידי פה ואוזן נבראת שפה, מדברת איש אל רעהו, והיא האדם לנפש חיה, לרוח ממלא לה. The Creator, Aborei Barach, saw that the proper flow of life, all of these organs that we've been talking about, whether it be the lungs, or be the heart, or be your eyes, or be your hands, and all these different things that you have, all of this would be impossible. Without contact, the proper flow of life would be impossible without contact between one person and another. And a world in which all people are deaf and mute is valueless and unsubstantial. Chaos would be better. Meaning, if the world came back, if there was no communication between one person and the other, if we were unable to speak, and you were unable to hear me, simply the world going back to nothingness would actually be better than that. If there was no way for us to communicate, where if I couldn't speak and you hear me, and you speak and I hear you, if there's no way for that to happen for the masses, there's simply no purpose for everyone. What's the point? In essence, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us here is that without unity of mankind, in the lowest form at least, of just simply communicating, the creation itself loses its value. Why create so many beings without them being able to communicate with each other, learn from each other, love each other, hate each other even, whatever it is? If they can't communicate, what's the point? Why not just create one of them, like Adam HaRishon? But even Adam HaRishon had a spouse, and then kids, and so on and so forth. Meaning that the specific creation of the mouth and the ears, in essence, gave a purpose to all of the other parts of the body, where without them, none of those other parts would really be meaningful. So yeah, you'd be able to breathe, and yeah, you'd be able to walk, and yeah, you'd be able to touch with your hands, but if you cannot communicate to another person, if we're all simply robots that cannot communicate with each other, we just pass each other as if nothing. No hello, no goodbye, no I love you, no I hate you, no let me tell you a chidush, let me tell you a funny story, nothing. Just all of us just simply lived independent lives of each other. All of that would simply be purposeless. No point. Which shows that unity in general, not just of the nation, but rather of mankind in general, being able to live in a world together, communicate together, is in essence part of the purpose of the world. But that's also gives us the deeper meaning of who are we allowed to be united with, who are we not allowed to be united with, who are we allowed to sit with, who are we not allowed to sit with, and so on. But nonetheless, a person needs to know that the mouth that you have is much more than just a mouth that speaks. The ears that you have are much more than just things that can hear. They're much more than that. They, in essence, gave a value to the rest of the things that you have that are in your body. Where if that function was removed, not just from you. If there is, let's say, for example, a certain situation, a Baal Mum, someone that has a deformity of some kind, they cannot hear, they cannot see, they're blind, they're deaf, and so on, that's one person. But nonetheless, usually those people can still communicate. They may not be able to speak, but they can still communicate with their hands. They may not be able to hear, but they can still communicate with their hands. But if they and their audience, meaning everyone, was in the same field, was in the same position, where no one was able to communicate at all, none of creation would simply have a purpose. Which shows us also that if you ever had the question in your mind, do animals talk? This just gave you the answer. They do. Because if they weren't able to communicate with each other, there would be no purpose for them to be so many. If the cows couldn't speak to each other, there wouldn't be a purpose for them to be so many. You say, well, yeah, but we eat them. Yeah, but there would never be a way for them to reproduce in such a fashion without some form of communication. The bugs, the cows, the birds, and so on and so forth. Actually, one of the 70 languages that the sages had to learn is the language of the animals. Shlomo HaMelech is very famous for speaking the language of the animals, and many secrets that he uncovered came from the animals. One guy came to Shlomo HaMelech one time and says, Kvod Harav, I want to learn the language of the birds. And Shlomo HaMelech says to him, no, you don't want to. I promise you don't want to. No, please, Your Highness, I want to learn, please teach me. I know you have all the wisdom, you're the smartest man in the world. He says, I promise you, you don't want to know the language of the birds. You don't want to. You can't handle it. If you don't know it, you can't handle it. Please. Okay, you want to know it? Fine, no problem. So, he teaches him the language. The next day, the guy walks out of his house, and he hears talking, and he's looking for people. There's no people. And he hears, you hear what's going to happen to this guy? Yeah, his son's going to fall today. He's going to break his leg. What? Who said that? Huh? And he starts realizing it's the two chickens. The chickens that are sitting in next to, in his house. He has a little lul, he has a little cage thing for chickens. Everybody had chickens back then. And, you'd have to rent one. Today, this business, you rent chickens. Or you buy them as a pet and then you return them when you don't want them anymore. Anyway, so he had, New York's big business. They have nothing to do with their money, so they buy chickens. Put it on the 35th floor. I never did it though. Just on YouTube. But anyway, the guy hears his two chickens having a conversation, and they're talking about his son. So they don't know that he knows what their language is. So he runs back inside. He says, son, where are you going? Abba, I'm going to school. No school for you. No school for you. What? No school for you. You stay home. Okay, fine, no problem. Stay home. So the kid goes back to his head. He goes home, and then he hears the chickens. He goes, you see what happened? It's like the guy knew what we were saying. The kid's not going to school. Wow, what a me. This guy's a genius. The next day, the guy comes out of the house. He says, you know what's going to happen today, right? He's the chickens again. You know what's going to happen today? Yeah. Today, he's going to fall. He's going to fall and he's going to break his leg. Our owner, he's going to break his leg. He's going to lose a lot of money because of that. He goes, turns around, goes back inside. Honey, I'm not going to work today. Why? Why not? You have no work? No. I figured I'm tired from the weekend. I'm tired. I'm not going to work. Chicken's like, wow, this guy's like a prophet. He knows what's going to happen. He didn't go. The next day he comes out and he hears the chickens. Yeah, today his wife's going to die. How? She's simply going to get a heart attack. She's going to die. How are you going to stop a heart attack? Can't go? What are you going to do? So what does he do? He runs to Shlomo HaMelech. He runs to Shlomo HaMelech. Your Highness, I need your help. What happened? You heard the chickens, didn't you? He goes, yeah. I told you don't want to know the language. I told you. He goes, yeah, but I already know. No, listen, I can't help you. No, but please, listen. They told me, I know what they told you. First you heard that you're going to break a leg or something, right? Yeah, it was my son. And you stopped it. Yeah, okay, that's the mistake. Then it was your leg. Yeah. That was just mistake number 2. Now it's your wife, right? Yeah, it's your wife. He goes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a decree in Shemaim that was meant for you, for some sin that you made. So the sin, he wants you to suffer a little bit, so he sent it to your son. Your son's going to break his leg, and you're going to suffer a little bit, and that's it. But you stopped. Like the chickens knew it, and you heard it, and you try to stop it. So Hashem has to give you a different decree. Because it's still a decree. Once the bullet is shot, you can't take it back. So then it had to go on you, but you stopped that too. Now there's no way to stop it. Now it's going to your wife. Once the bullet is shot from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can't stop it. I told you didn't want to know the language of the chickens. Now, after the shiur today, we're going to teach the language of the chickens. So Rabotai Kareem, is that you have a situation where a person needs to understand that his ears are more than just to communicate with each other. They literally give a meaning to all of the things that he has in his body.